What's good, people? Wanted to show y'all this before we get into this reading. This is relevant. Okay. See where Egypt is on the exotic map, right? Although it shows Egypt here in Georgia, which is Savannah, we know that this modern time Egypt is also in Memphis, Tennessee, and they have found Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon area. Oh, you see Morocco and Tripoli. Tripoli will be relevant to today's reading. See that, right? Tripoli is there. See that? You see where Moab is? Tripoli. Okay, hold up. Check it out. Today's reading will be coming from the book of Amazing History. See that, right? Sea serpents on medieval maps. All right, let's go here. America's first foreign war. I wouldn't call this war foreign, as we just seen, right? From the exotic map. Right? Hold on, let's go back. Look at that. History of Libya, right? Kingdom of Libya. Where was this kingdom established? When we already showed you on the exotic map, right? This is the one they talking about over there in Africa. Not over here in America. Because the one over here in America was established first. All right, let's go. America's first foreign war. Ever wonder why the U.S. Marines will fight their country's battles to the shores of Tripoli? Here's the answer. William Eaton, acting as an agent for the U.S. government, disembarked at Rosetta, Egypt, on November 26, 1804. And we just showed you where Egypt was on the exotic map, right? Okay. His mission was to find Hamid Karamanli, the former ruler of Tripoli and leader of the Barbary pirates. A few years earlier, Hamid had been deposed in a coup and was replaced by his brother, Yusuf Karamanli. Eaton wanted Hamlet to become the oppositional leader of an expedition to overthrow Yusuf, whose pirates had captured the frigate USS Philadelphia and its crew, unsafe at sea. For hundreds of years, Britain, France, and Spain had been paying the Barbary pirates, the Moors, to leave their ships alone. The United States, now independent from Britain and no longer under its system of payment, became fair game. It's always been fair game. Captured sailors of all nations wound up in the dungeons of Tripoli, Tunis, and Algiers. In 1785, after the merchant ships Maria and Dolphin were captured, the significance of the problem was brought home to all Americans. Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson thought the United States had but three choices: pay tribute to the pirates like the European countries, pay tribute to the pirates like the European countries. So the Moors was taxing the European countries as well. See that, right? Forbid American vessels to sail in the Mediterranean or go to war. Representative Robert Goodloe Harper made a stirring promise to spend millions for defense, but not 1 cent for tribute. Congress authorized $688,882 for the construction of 6 frigates, but an agreement on tribute was reached nonetheless. America would pay the pirates yearly tribute and a ransom more than $1 million. America had a merchant fleet to protect, and this arrangement was cheaper than full-scale war. By 1797, never enough, John Adams had become president, and all of the American captives had either died in prison or been released. But for 4 years, there was relative peace. But then, near the end of Adams' term, Yusuf Karamanli decided that the Americans weren't paying enough and declared war on the United States. That was fine with most Americans who were fed up with paying tribute. Jefferson became president in 1801. 1801. We just seen when the Kingdom of Libya was established, right? What did it say? 1951. Okay, continue. And he saw America's fight with the Barbary powers as a test of the young nation's mettle. He sent a 6-ship squadron to the Mediterranean under Commodore Edward Peeble. Those 6 ships had to patrol more than 1,200 miles of coastline, a nearly impossible task. It was made more difficult when the frigate Philadelphia ran aground off Tripoli and was captured on October 1803. Something had to be done. Such a warship could not be left in the hands of pirates. On the night of February 16, 1804, Lieutenant Stephen Decatur led a raiding party into Tripoli harbor. He and his crew annihilated the Tripolian prize crew and burned the Philadelphia, a feat Britain's Admiral Nelson called the most daring act of the age. The crew of the Philadelphia and Americans from other ships were still in the dungeons of Tripoli. However, the American captives couldn't just wait out the war. Those with exploitable talents were treated well, but most were tortured and forced to do hard labor. Men were dying, committing suicide, or converting to Islam and fighting for Yusuf. Back in Egypt, Eaton managed to scrap together 90 of Hamid's followers, joined by 50 Greek mercenaries. Who were the Greeks? Asiatics. And 20 Italian gunners, and a fire-eating Englishman named Farouk. About 300 Belquin Arabs cavalry completed the local contingent. Eaton wanted to include 100 U.S. Marines from the fleet, but Captain Samuel Barron refused. In the end, the only Americans who took part were Eaton, Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon of the Marines, with a sergeant and a few enlisted soldiers, and Midshipman Pascal Paoli Peck, U.S. Navy. On March 5th, 1805, the expedition set off across the desert. Lacking most necessary equipment, they stumbled into Bamba, On April 15th, they had been 25 days without meat and 15 days without bread. For 2 days, they eat nothing at all. Smoke signals brought the USS Argue, which had ample provisions and one of two promised cannons. The group set off for Derna, arriving on April 26 when an attempt to negotiate with the governor of the town, the bay of the town, brought the response, "Your head or mine, eat an attack." After his force took significant casualties and had its one cannon put out of action, Eaton decided on all-out assault. Brandishing a sword and leading his force, Eaton swept through the barricades and took the town. Resistance collapsed and the governor took refuge within his harem. It wasn't Tripoli, but it was close enough. Yusuf agreed to release American captives and leave American ships alone. The war was over. See that, right? But they say it wasn't Tripoli. But it was close enough. Check it out. See that? America BC. I buried Phelps. Right? Then we go over this. Druids in Vermont. Phoenicians in Iowa before the time of Julius Caesar. All right. Go here. Boom. Libyans of Zuni. Right? Get a close up of that. The Libyans in America. BC. Right? This before there was an Africa over there. The Libyans in America. What does that say? Far north is Cubic. One from California. Others from the cliff faces along the Arkansas. Look at that. Come on now. Being here. We out, y'all. Peace.